Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships Legends. As you may or may not know, I am not, in fact, in possession of the heavy legendary tier cruiser of the USN branch. Wow, I messed that up. The Des Moines. I don't have it yet. I have not completed the Bureau project because I never bother to grind any of the ships in the Bureau. And I sometimes forget to set up my, whatever you call them, the commanders, the patrons, and the ships to make the research points accrual faster. I sometimes fail to do that, and as such, I think I'm only on the 5th segment of Des Moines. The Bureau is just, honestly, it's a really boring mechanic to interact with. You have to, choose 3 ships. You have to play those ships to grind them, and essentially that's it. You do it once a day, and you can check back, and every time you get a new segment, you choose new patrons, and you choose new ships to speed up the research points. I just find it very dull. It's something I don't want to interact with, and as such, I always end up waiting a lot longer for legendary tier ships than most people do. But what I do have in lieu of the Des Moines is the Baltimore. And on the game, or in the game on which this game is based, that is WoW's PC, the Baltimore is a Tier 8 cruiser, followed by the Buffalo at Tier 9, and then finally the Des Moines at Tier 10. So realistically speaking, these ships, the Baltimore and the Des Moines, are sort of part of the same family. They're part of the same tech tree elsewhere. And the Baltimore is, in many ways, a down-tiered version of the Des Moines. They have the same number of guns, they have the same size of guns. The chief difference is that the Des Moines guns load very, very quickly, whereas the Baltimore guns take a little bit longer. But the Baltimore's AP, like the Des Moines AP, is fantastic, and I think unbeatable at Tier 7. Just ask that Chapayev, who lost 18,000 hit points to 2 Citadels, 5 regular penetrations, and 2 overpens. That's about half his health there, and he's looking a lot worse for the wear. We're kind of hanging around this cap, debating on whether we should be pushing in, trying to get some spotting courtesy of our destroyer up there, and help out our teammates. The AP on the Baltimore is, as I just mentioned, pretty much unbeatable at Tier 7. There is no cruiser at Tier 7 that has AP quite like this. The penetration at range is excellent, and the penetration angles are unmatched by any other Tier 7 cruiser. This thing pens armor at steeper angles than anything else, really, besides, honestly, the Des Moines. So if you want the kind of Des Moines experience, or if you want to get an idea of what the Des Moines is going to be like because you're currently researching the Bureau project yourself, well, you'll want to play the Baltimore. I think it's sort of essential, because in the same places where you would shoot armor piercing versus high explosive in the Des Moines, these would almost be the same places you would do it in the Baltimore. Although in the Baltimore, I think you might want to lean a little bit more heavily into the AP, just because the reload is so slow. That Chapayev, by the way, is playing a very dangerous game, peeking out from behind that island. Right now, if I wanted to, I suppose I could radar him, but I think I'm saving that for a destroyer. And I've decided that maybe we're going to go around this island here, but maybe not. Maybe we're going to start reversing and wait for that Chapayev to pop up again. Or maybe we're going to go after the destroyer. There are choices open to us. Our team has lost 2 ships, but the enemy team has lost 4. So we're pretty comfortably ahead. That destroyer remains spotted. Doesn't look like he is going to be able to escape 2 battleships. At least I hope he wouldn't be. And that champagne right there, well, he decided to go around that corner. Not exactly advisable. He ate all 4 of the Chapayev's 4.5 kilometer range torpedoes. I don't think there's any way anybody could have predicted that that would happen, given the Chapayev's placement on the map and where he was last spotted. Certainly, if that champagne had paid attention to his minimap, he never would have known anyway that he was going to eat all those torpedoes, but now he's dead, and we've lost 4 ships, but we've taken down a 5th ship on the enemy team, so that's all good. Only the Chapayev is really left around here, aside from that enemy destroyer, which is a Minsk. And the Minsk is not exactly a torpedo threat, but he might be a capping threat. We will want to take him out, but in lieu of anything better to shoot at, we'll shoot at this Bismarck across the map. We've racked up 51,000 damage in about 5 minutes, too, which I think is pretty nice, given the relative poverty of targets we've had to shoot at. We've really only had this Chapayev and that Richelieu earlier. Now the Chapayev reverses out, unaware that we are here. He's giving us flat broadside, so that's the end of him, and there is our first kill of the game. Now we're considering going after this destroyer, but we don't know exactly where he is. He might have hightailed it back toward Alpha. We are being spotted by him, but the bulk of the enemy forces are a Bismarck and a Colorado that are down this way. So in fact, we're going to turn toward Bravo and go after them a little bit. And that sequence is going to allow you to see the Baltimore's AP in action against lower tier battleships. If you're going to play the Baltimore or the Des Moines, then you want to be aware of how good this AP is, and you want to be shooting it at every available opportunity. Again, this AP has better penetration angles, and if you're newer to this game and unfamiliar with what that means, well, when a ship is giving you flat broadside, right, its armor is at a straight 90-degree angle, right? Or whatever the angle is, it's giving you flat broadside, it's at a 0-degree angle. Your shells will penetrate that flat broadside more easily, but when it tightens up the angle a little bit, say it's angled in, honestly I don't know how many degrees it is, but slightly angled ships, let's put it this way, slightly angled ships will still take damage from this AP, particularly cruisers and lightly armored battleships. And the Colorado is a lightly armored battleship. It's only got 26 millimeters of armor everywhere along the ship, aside from the belt armor that protects the citadel, which is a lot thicker. But I think even that we can potentially penetrate as long as he's flat broadside. If he's not flat broadside, then we're still going to be able to penetrate in a lot of places on his hull. We do catch the Minsk there with our radar, but he's just out of our range, so he disappears. That's okay. Again, he only has 6-kilometer range torpedoes, so it's not like we're going to be in any danger of taking those. Bismarck is now starting to notice us and shooting HE at us, which is certainly an interesting choice. We hit him back there for quite a bit of damage. Even against a Bismarck, which is a heavily armored target, the AP on the Baltimore is fantastic. But here comes the Colorado at about half health. Some other Tier 7 cruisers might struggle to do as much damage to this Colorado with AP as the Baltimore can. You can see he's slightly angled. But even so, we get 8, maybe 9K there for that salvo. Pretty dang good. And you can see he's maintaining that angle. And there we get about 10K with 6 penetrations. And again, look how angled he is. This is the magic of the Baltimore's AP, in that it can still penetrate angled targets like this. And that is what makes it so effective, and I think allows it to maintain its relevance, even though it's an older ship, even until this day. The AP is just unbeatable. It is glorious, and we were able to make really short work of that Colorado indeed. I was kind of worried that we might be blapped by him on the way in, but no such luck for the Colorado. In fact, I think he missed us a couple times there. We do light a fire on the Bismarck, but we instantly switch back to the AP. Now that we're this close to him, we're going to have absolutely no problem penetrating his armor. We're not going to get any citadels, but we should get nice juicy chunks for 7K or so. I think when we started this engagement against the two of these battleships, we were at just over 100K damage done. Now we're at nearly 140, and that just comes from shooting AP at the battleships. There's not much of a difference there if you're looking at raw damage numbers than if I were actually playing a battleship and I shot those battleships. I might have still done pretty close to the same amount of damage to their broadsides. The only difference is I would have done it in the span of maybe 2 salvos, whereas with the Baltimore, I was able to shoot, 4 or 5 salvos probably at each of those battleships and obtain the damage that way. It's just a powerhouse, the Baltimore. A fantastic powerhouse that I wonder if it is as appreciated these days as it should be. Some might call it the king of Tier 7 cruisers. I've called it that before, and I've received a little bit of flack for that. Some people want to disagree and say Hipper is the king of Tier 7 cruisers, to which I say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hipper has good AP alpha, but it does not have the AP penetration angles of the Baltimore at all, not even close, no cigar, and the Hipper does not have the radar, which is going to come in handy here when it comes off of cooldown in 10 seconds. The Baltimore's radar does, of course, have 9 km range, and it lasts for 30 seconds. An eternity for any destroyer unfortunate enough to get caught in it. And this Minsk, well, he's about to get caught in it. He has no hit points left. Baltimore's HE can hit pretty hard too. Nearly 4k there. We almost could have taken him out in one shot, but our teammate finishes him off and finishes the game for us. So, there's a look at the Baltimore. I really do think it's a fantastic Tier 7 cruiser, and I think this is a pretty good result in it. Baltimore is still relevant to this day. If you don't have it, I think you should get it. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.